So our solution addresses a problem that's, well known. It's the review and negotiation around, hundreds of thousands, if not more, commercial contracts each year, done mainly sort of in companies and enterprises. And so the problems are around the friction, the speed or lack of it, the frustration around the workflows, and also the fact that a lot of companies don't have access to actionable data or aren't using that data. So our solution essentially addresses that and has some flexible technology. As you said, there's some NLP and machine learning, but there's also rules-based technology. So I would sort of describe ourselves by analogy of a tool to quite precision-based tools like screwdrivers or lathes. And in contrast, I think, to some of the more jackhammer solutions, which are very effective about reviewing big portfolios of contracts. But what we're doing is reviewing and negotiating individual contracts, as they come in. So that has to be a sort of very precise, solution. So our sort of sweet spot is medium to high complexity commercial contracts, sales, procurement, services, SaaS, all of that. And what we seek to deliver is a user experience which reviews the contract, but also allows the user to action that contract, turn it around, edit it, report on it. And we are looking at contracts that are either high volume, lower complexity, or low volume, high complexity, but with, I think, sort of repeatable clauses to boilerplate. And we work on, not only drafts created by the counterparty of the customer, but also where the counterparty is giving a lot of red line on standard terms that the customer's generating. So let me just share some screens which are done here. So at the heart of the system, essentially, is a playbook, and we can launch this playbook in Microsoft Word or in the Word app. And once a contract's launched, the playbook will display some of the sort of key areas that a customer would like to negotiate or understand in the contract. And the playbook is very customizable. It can be as simple or it can be as complex as a customer wants. And the playbook not only allows the contract to be reviewed, but it gives a whole lot of tools around the guidance and the possible actions around each clause. Now, as you'll see here, the playbook has a traffic light system. So red for obvious red flags, green for it's okay, and amber for you need to review it more. And also we have a number of items where the customer says, don't give us a specific rule. We just want a basic summary of what's in the clause. And so one of the key things you can then go into each issue, and instead of just pulling out the clause, extracting it, what we seek to do is give summaries, which we've done here, for example, on a force majeure clause, and highlight some of the key issues.
And I noticed it says pandemics not included.
Yeah, so this will be very familiar. So this checklist was, had a say COVID, tinge. So to give you an example of the sort of things that we can get into. So we're not just extracting the clause and letting the user take over. So, we'll summarize, we'll give an overview of the issue, and then we allow the user to go through and action it. So for example, they can input standard language or curated language that is already in the system, their preferred drafting on a particular type of clause, in this case as an indemnity. And the other thing that we can do is pull out all of the precedent clauses on this particular issue through the portfolio of contracts that the customer has already signed. So you've got basically a toolkit with possible responses on the issue. And then what the system will do is it will take that drafting and it will align it to what's in the draft contract under review. So you don't have to change, for example, all the definitions, defined terms. That will all be done automatically. So it allows a very sort of fast way of remediating contracts, or the boilerplate in contracts, using the text editing features that are already embedded in Microsoft Word. So this checklist will sit alongside the Microsoft Word document in a Microsoft Word view, and it will also automatically extract the contract from a document management system. So such as SharePoint or other document management systems, it will automatically sync with those systems. So another feature that customers use quite often is you can create an automated but amendable report on the contract. So you'll see here that we've pulled out all of the issues on our checklist. You get a summary, you pull out the clause references, you get an overview of the issue, and you get a risk scoring. And so this can be used as an internal risk report on the contract, or can be easily configured so that it can be, go to the counterparty as a sort of issues list or deviations list. So you see there's flexibility in the way contracts can be actioned, either by way of report, issues list, or by an amended contract. So the other sort of features that we have is that we have workflow features that will allow legal colleagues to be alerted if certain red flags appear, or senior colleagues to be alerted, or in some cases we allow for automated approvals of contracts if they comply with the customer's business rules. The other thing that we do allow is for a sort of very visualized reporting across the portfolio of contracts, allowing people to sort of see the overall risk and how the portfolio is performing, either before the contracts are negotiated, executed, or thereafter. And all of this is sort of presented in quite a visual fashion. So I think one of the sort of key things that excites us is how the technology could be used. So obviously it's intended to speed up the response, but I think also it can fundamentally change the way contracts are processed within companies. So for example, instead of the old system where a lot of contracts being stuck in legal for review, a business manager, a contract manager can do most of the negotiation using the system, negotiating with the counterparty, and perhaps just go to the legal colleagues for some of the 2 or 3 really key points that add value on the contract. So that's quite an exciting development. We call this business self-service. It's empowering business teams to own their contracts, reserving legal for things that really do justice to their training. The other thing that we can use the technology for, is we can triage contracts, send them down the right track. I've mentioned automated, approvals. And then the final thing that we work with customers is, once all this data is stored in the system, we can analyze it. So once the contract's signed, we can then set up contract management tools. So for example, we can flag what are the key obligations, key reporting, when renewals are due. So you're providing the same features that a lot of standalone contract management systems give, but actually it exists in the customer's existing document management system, and we're just providing the data insights and quality of information.